gaps in legislation are closed. On Clean Cities and Towns campaign, Cabinet welcomed the launch by the Deputy President, Mr. Paulos Mashatile, of the Clean Cities and Towns campaign to encourage communities to keep our cities and towns clean. Though launched in the city of Johannesburg, the campaign will be expanded to cities and towns in other provinces in the coming weeks. Cabinet calls on citizens to take responsibility of keeping our public spaces clean and beautiful, as well as take ownership of our environment. This nationwide initiative is aimed at creating cleaner, greener, and more inclusive urban spaces. On international matters, on the G7 summit, President Ramaphosa will attend the G7 leaders summit in Kanakasis in Canada from the 15th to the 17th of June 2025. The G7 summit aims to address pressing global challenges, including fostering inclusive economic growth, combating climate change, and navigating the complexities of a rapidly evolving technological environment. Discussions are expected to also focus on international security concerns, particularly the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the strengthening of global economic stability. On South Africa-Russia relations, Deputy President Mr. Paulos Mashatile will undertake a working visit to the Russian Federation between the 16th and the 21st of June 2025 to strengthen the long-standing diplomatic and economic ties between South Africa and the Russian Federation. This visit presents an opportunity to further solidify economic partnerships, explore new avenues for collaboration, and advance peace in the region. South Africa advocates for a peaceful resolution of the Russia-Ukraine conflict and continues to play its role as a neutral arbiter to the conflict. Updates from Cabinet. Cabinet was updated about plans to implement the outcomes of the water and sanitation in Daba, which was convened to find solutions to the water and sanitation challenges faced in South Africa. Amongst the priorities of on the implementation plan is that all government departments must pay their invoices from municipalities within 3 months, and in municipalities to apply stringent credit control measures on government departments that do not pay. All water service authorities must pay their current invoices in full to the water boards timelessly, and all water boards to pay their current invoices in full to their Department of Water and Sanitation starting immediately. The Department of Water and Sanitation and water boards are to implement the approved debt write-off mechanisms with qualifying municipalities starting immediately, and the DWS will implement the revised raw water pricing strategy from April 1, 2026. National Treasury will finalize the review of the funding model for local government, and Department of Water and Sanitation is to establish an independent economic water regulator to regulate water prices across the water value chain within 3 years. In the next cabinet briefing from the Department of Water and Sanitation, we are going to receive an update relating to water provision in areas where there is scarcity of water. On preparation for the G20 summit, Cabinet received an update about work underway as the country prepares to host the G20 Leader Summit and as the number of meetings continue to take place in the country. The G20 IMC has reported on some of the planned G20 legacy projects and side events under the banner of South Africa's G20 presidency. These include the Tourism Legacy Project under the leadership of the Department of Tourism, and events such as the Tourism Investment Summit, Tourism Hackathon, and Tourism Sustainability Village. These are intended to use G20 platform to elevate and reposition South Africa as a destination of choice for both tourism and tourism investment. The following G20 meetings were held in South Africa in preparation for the G20 summit. The third digital economy working group meeting, which was held on from the 9th to the 14th to the 11th of June in Limpopo, and focused on advancing a set of shared priorities designed to make the digital economy more inclusive, more accountable, and more enabling of sustainable development. The third International Financial Architecture Working Group meeting, which was held from the 9th to the 10th of June in Limpopo, to discuss the monitoring and reporting framework of the G20 roadmap towards better, bigger, and more effective MDBs. The G20 Provincial Education Indaba, which was held in KZN on the 10th of June 2025, which explored opportunities that will enable member countries to deliver quality early childhood care and education, as well as produce capable learners for the future. You will recall that as South Africa, the priorities in the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill is the fast tracking and implementation of early childhood education to make sure that our children are ready and can compete globally. The U20 Sherpa Summit and African Mayors Assembly is being held from today, the 14th, from today, the 12th to the 14th of June 2025 in the city of Tshwane, and it has brought together mayors from different countries to deliberate on priorities and such as economic opportunities, climate action, social equity, and digital transformation. The fourth health working group meeting took place from the 10th to the 13th and will complete on the 13th of June, which is tomorrow, of 2025 in Gauteng, and it is deliberating on opportunities for technology transfer, sustainable financing, and regulatory alignment to ensure timely and equitable access to life-saving tools during health emergencies. And lastly, the third task force meeting on artificial intelligence, data governance, and innovation for sustainable development is taking place today in Limpopo until tomorrow, the 13th of June 2025, and it will provide an opportunity for the G20 member countries to shape the future of artificial intelligence development and use for global public interest. On foodborne illnesses. The country will remember that we lost a number of children due to foodborne illnesses, and the president established an IMC to look at to work closely with relevant stakeholders to ensure that we prevent unnecessary deaths due to foodborne illnesses. Cabinet received the report from the IMC with a special focus on the chemical known as organophosphate, commonly known as alipirimi in the Black communities. And this report was presented by the Ministerial Advisory Council on Foodborne Illnesses, appointed by Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. And this MAC, or Ministerial Advisory Committee, comprised of various experts from across the health disciplines, and it will provide guidance on prevention of future outbreaks. The MAC conducted work on the availability and use of tuberphos, which is organophosphate, a highly hazardous product that caused the death of 6 children in Naledi, Soweto, while specifics to determine the exposure of the children remain uncertain. The possibility that the children consumed food contaminated with tuberphos purchased from a local spaza shop remains the most viable explanation. Given the submission by the IMC, advised by the Ministerial Advisory Council, Cabinet has approved the ban of tuberphos or alipirimi, the import of tuberphos or alipirimi in South Africa, a chemical compound classified as an organophosphate commonly used as an insecticide, and a pesticide in the farming community. The ban will be accompanied by a suite of other measures, including enforcement, while a broader consultation are taking place to identify safer alternatives to tuberforce so that we can ensure food security or alternatives for farmers. On appointments, all appointments are subject to the verification of qualifications and relevant and the acquisition of relevant security clearance. Mr. Ndumiso Kubeka, as the Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Development Agency, commonly known as the NYDA, approved members of the Export Credit Insurance Corporation of South Africa board, who are Ms. Daylin Ndlovu as the chairperson, Mr. Willem van der Spey, Mr. Andile Mabizela, Mr. Sisa Mayekiso, Mr. Becky Ishmael Mkize, Ms. Pilisiwe Bim Tetwa, and Ms. Sobiana Omahoni. I'm hoping I didn't murder the surname. My apologies if I've murdered the surname. Cabinet also approved members of the South African National Accreditation System Board, who are Dr. Ntshavheni Demana as the chairperson, Dr. Damari Naika, Dr. Pulane Elias Molokwane, Mr. Bruce Christopher Gordon, Ms. Nolita Ntobongwana, Ms. Lebuchang Amelia Matlala, Ms. Anele Zukiswa Vuta, Dr. Nandi Malambazo, Ms. Sindile Nomathemba Ndwandwe, Mr. John Mayiwane Vusmuzi Mazibuko, and Ms. Nomvula Pamela Mhlari. Cabinet also approved the appointment of members of the South African Bureau of Standards Board, who are Professor Mzibanzi Bismarck Tobeka as the chairperson, Mr. Garfield Mario Bergsteff, Mr. Mavela Alfred Velamavu Dlamini, Dr. Reabetsi Horeadira, Ms. Tepiso Tinyiko Matlapeng, Ms. Hutatso Mhulatsi, and Ms. Deidre Penfold, and lastly, Mr. Griffith Zabala. On upcoming events, as earlier indicated, the Africa Green Hydrogen Summit, Cabinet has welcomed the hosting of the Africa Green Hydrogen Summit in Cape Town, which has commenced today, the 12th to the 13th of June 2025. The summit brings together African energy ministers, policymakers, and investors to explore opportunities in green hydrogen production, infrastructure development, and export potential. The country's hydrogen sector is rapidly emerging as a cornerstone of the nation's strategy for transitioning to a low carbon economy, creating sustainable jobs, and positioning itself as a global leader in green energy. And the president has just concluded addressing the summit. On Youth Month, on the 2025 National Youth Day, Cabinet calls on all South Africans, especially young people, to join in commemorating National Youth Day on 16 June under the theme Skills for the Changing World, Empowering Youth for Meaningful Economic Participation. This year's main event will be held at the Rec Farm Stadium in Tlokwe, in JB Marks local municipality in the Northwest, and will focus on promoting education and skills development for the youth, which are linked to economic opportunities. This National Day is also important in remembering our history of oppression and the prevention of a Black child from learning in their own languages. Again, the Bila Bill and the work that was done from the sixth administration of introducing learning and teaching, including of STEM subjects in indigenous language, is making progress. We have made progress in the province of the Eastern Cape, where STEM subjects are taught in isiXhosa. And I know they will argue that there's Impondomise and all those, but generally, pardon me, is isiXhosa. And this has resulted in improvement in the matric results of the Eastern Cape. The program has been expanded to other provinces to ensure that we learn in indigenous languages. And indigenous languages includes Africans. There should not be a special group that want to rise up and protect Africans, because if we want to make politics, Africans, the originators and the owners of Africans are the Africans who are so-called colored in South Africa in terms of the classification. On messages, we'll start with condolences. Cabinet expressed condolences to the friends and families of to the government of the Republic of Zambia and the people of Zambia following the passing away of former President, His Excellency Edgar Chagwa Lungu of Zambia. Renowned photographer, cultural activist, and jazz organizer Rashid Lombard. Mr. Lombard was an esteemed member of the National Order of Ikamanga on silver, which he received in 2014 for his contribution to arts and culture and his dedication to promoting jazz music in the country. And to the family and friends of former Judge President of the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court, Justice Clement Temba Sangoni, a jurist of towering intellect and an unwavering principle and a holder of unwavering principle of justice, who was also a senior traditional leader of the Xokolweni Zimbane Traditional Council in Umtata. Unfortunately, I can't pronounce the praise name of the late Judge President and the late traditional leaders of the Olokweni Zimbani Traditional Council. I tried all night, but I know it's Ah Dilizintambo, as we honor him and may his soul rest in peace. On congratulations, Cabinet extends its congratulations and well wishes to Mr. Tete Dijana for winning the 2025 Comrades Marathon for the third time, having previously won in 2022 and 2024. He has set himself a huge target of saying he's coming next year. Ms. Gerda Stein for defending her Comrades Marathon title by winning the Women's 2025 Comrades Marathon and becoming the first South African runner to win the ultimate human race 4 times. She previously won it in 2019, 2023, 2024, and 2025, which shows we could run it consecutively, we could win it. But interesting about the win of Mr. Gerda Stein was in terms of a time that she recorded, she beat the number 3 on the male category of winners, which shows that the world and this country belong to women. Mbokodo Gerda Stein. We extend our congratulations to South Africa's Paralympic wheelchair superstar Khutazo Montjane and her Japanese partner Yuika Maji for winning their second French Open women's wheelchair doubles title. She's another phenomenal South African athlete who we do not celebrate big enough. We also extend our congratulations to South African sprinter Zakiti Nene for winning gold in the men's 400 at the Cape Keno Classic in Nairobi and setting a new world lead of 43.76 seconds. I think nobody is going to catch our sprinters. I think this year the athletics title must be left to South Africans. Globally, we must just declare that there's no point of us running. We are the winners as a nation. We are on top there. Cabinet also extends its congratulations to South African landscape designer Leon Clutch and his team for winning gold at the RHS Chelsea Flower Show in London. And this is huge. I hope the King Protea was part of the flower arrangement there. We also congratulate Telkom on their financial year results and their first dividend that they are paying to government over for a period of over 4 years, they were not able to pay a dividend to government. They've now paid a dividend of 500 million. This confirms that the equity or strategic equity partners in SOCs is not a deterrent to the growth and the performance of SOCs, but it is a confirmation that the participation of strategic equity partners boosts performance and also the ability to appoint capable leaders. And we must confirm Telkom is led the group by a group CEO who's African and the chairman who's also African. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for the comprehensive statement. The statement will be shared in due course. Thank you very much also, Minister, for emphasizing our dominance of the Comrades Marathon. At one stage, it was one of those marathons that were really, really contested, but South Africans now are leading the way. Colleagues, let me then also acknowledge and introduce also the Acting Director General for GCIS, Ms. Nomonde Mnokwa. And on that note, let me invite questions, firstly from the Imbizo Center in the house here in Cape Town. The drill is the same. You'll show by way of hand, and just next to you, there is a knob. You press the button, it will be red, then you ask the question. Let me note your hand and then recognize it. Thank you very much. I know this was not Thank you very much. Let me note and recognize the second hand. Thank you very much. Minister, I think those are the questions from the House, and we only have one online question. I'm not sure if we can just put it.
There's a question that I need to ask.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go online. My colleague Nandika. Thank you very much, Minister. Those, I think, were the only questions that we have, both online and from the House. So maybe when Minister is done, Minister can also round up the briefing. Thank you very much.
This is serious indulgence. I need to drink water first. Let me start on the last question on floods. If you recall, earlier this year, when we were briefing about the inclement weather, and I think it was exactly towards the Easter period, and the flooding. And we are committed to climate change program and management and moving to all those low carbon initiatives that will remove climate change. But there are other disasters in this climate change environment that are man-made, as you have called them. And I saw you wanted to retract or move away from that terminology. There are people who continue to reside in low-lying areas, within the flood line, and without, even when you remove them, they continue to go back. You remember this issue does not start today. You will recall that Gauteng, for some period, suffered serious impact by those who stayed within the floodlines of the Jaskei River, if you recall. And during that briefing, we indicated that at some point, and which the disaster management teams, the planning teams, will have to make a report to cabinet and propose a full relocation of an area. And we hope South Africans will understand and will not say we are victimizing poor people and so forth. When we have to demolish structures that are placed through floodlines, when we have to remove people who are building, in particular informal settlements that are being built in the floodlines. But government also remains committed to accelerating the building of proper housing structures through the NHBRC. Because you check, majority of those in households that are affected is those houses that are still mud structures. And the eradication of mud houses, if you remember on the census 2022, they indicated the progress. But we are committed to meet the National Development Plan target of 2030 of making sure that mud houses are eliminated or eradicated in South Africa. And that does not really translate to the extinction of our traditional housing structures, which are commonly known as rondavels. You build rondavels through materials that are stronger. But we continue to also encourage homeowners to make sure when they build their structures, they must make sure that the contractor register the structure with the National Housing NHBRC, so that the NHBRC inspectors can ensure quality of the structure that can withstand the weather conditions. We are confident that the NHBRC are working to make sure that they revise and improve the standards for home building. In the infrastructure, what we call public infrastructure like roads and so forth, and in the Eastern Cape. You'll recall the time when we were briefing again earlier this year, we have spoken about a project that started in the 6th administration of Uwelisizwe bridges, to make sure that the type of bridges that are built, and this is not Eastern Cape alone, it's Eastern Cape and KZN, because of the size and the magnitude of the river crossings. And we were, towards the end of the sixth administration, there was a campaign led by the media to say we are not building bridges enough. And we indicated the type of the bridge infrastructure that you need to put in place in Limpopo, part of Limpopo, in Lepelle Nkupi municipality, because the Lepelle River, commonly known as the Olifants River, in the Eastern Cape and in KZN in particular, and there can be other major rivers in other provinces, requires large budgets, not an ordinary 15 million. It runs in billions. I remember when I was still in the digital communications department, when we're doing digital connection, there was a river crossing that in the Eastern Cape that needed a 5 kilometer bridge. That is not small change. And the river, when it washes away, even the flood line, it watches, it goes to the edge of that bridge, meaning that you'll have to revise the flood line for those bridges and increase them to maybe 8 or 10 kilometer width, so that they cannot be the washing away of those structures. And I think we need to work together as South Africans and understand and stop politicizing infrastructure development, more so where we know that we need real and weather sustaining or withstanding infrastructure. We need to build structures that we can withstand 100 years. It is for that reason that the Minister of Finance and Cabinet approved the budget that was tabled and approved yesterday by the National Assembly, an investment of 1 trillion rands in infrastructure investment. Some of that investment will go into road infrastructure development, including bridges. I'll come to myself at the end. And I'm really indulging you. On Minister Nkabane, whether she submitted the report, I have not verified with the president, but yesterday she has informed me because she anticipated that this question will come through. She has indicated to me that she has submitted the report to the president. I have not verified that with the president. So I'm speaking on what she has informed me. On the meeting of the president and the National Director of Public Prosecution, Madam Shamila Batoy, what I can indicate is that NICOC has not generated or submitted a report anyway to anyone. So there are speculations. NICOC is working on a report or on reports across its nature of business that it will work, and I know that because I'm responsible for NICOC. If there was such a report, I would have received that report and authorized its release, because I'm the minister responsible for the national intelligence structures. And that I had to call a friend on that one. And my friend has just sent me a message that I should not have responded, but I had to clarify it. So on the meeting between the president and the NDPP, it has to be the spokesperson of the president who will confirm that I don't manage the diary of the president. On why we submitted the travel expenditure, because it's the same question that you've asked, and also that was asked by Amanda Koza on the online platform. It's just not the travel to say which country have you gone to, it to say what meetings and all those other details, if you understand the nature of work, because actually 80% of my travel is travel for the work on state security. So it will compromise if we release it in public, it will compromise some of the initiatives that we are making. You will recall when the Russia-Ukraine conflict started, and the African leaders initiative led by our president had to go to Ukraine. It required some of us to do that type of preparatory work for that. And if you disclose such details, you compromise the operations that you are running as a country, and that's so you fail national security. It is for that reason that the National Strategic Intelligence Act has provided the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence for us to fully account on those things that cannot be shared in public domain. There are meetings that I attend that we do not post on platforms at all, because what we've posted is summits. It's not meetings. It's summits that are commonly known that there will be the summits and this is the delegation. So there is nothing wrong, because we are allowed by law to provide to the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence, unless the Action SA wants to claim that the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence has no capacity to hold us accountable. And those members of the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence were appointed by Parliament and sworn in to make sure that they hold us accountable and to hold across all matters. We will not sacrifice national interest for political expediency, and national security interest for political expediency. Will comply and work through the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence. You will also recall that when I'm asked questions sometimes in Parliament, there are those that I respond partly and I say the details will provide to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. Thank you very much. And we wish you a safer. You have a follow-up question? I'll stand and take the question directly.
On rural development, if you look at the rural areas now all over South Africa, they are very developed, beautiful, big houses. When those structures are being built, are there, when the area is demarcation, there's demarcation for a structure to be built, does government play a role, or municipalities play a role in that demarcation for a structure to be built? I mean, are engineers involved, or is just local communities deciding that we can have a plot here if you want to build a proper structure? Because those structures in rural areas are beautiful houses. And with disasters like this, it's worrying when you look at those houses being affected like that. So what I'm trying to say is there that...
I've got the question.
Yes,
Let me give you an example from the province that I've worked, and you all know that I was a municipal manager. In Limpopo, the government, since the premiership of Premier Advocate Ngwakura Matlodi, we took a decision to work from a provincial position, and I know because I was his spokesperson at the time, to ensure that our Department of Local Government and Housing then, which is today COGSTA, the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs and Human Settlements, that we are going to work with traditional leaders to ensure that they do not just demarcate sites. The sites are demarcated by municipalities. We put the land surveyors, because they don't have land surveyors. So previously, and I also know, Msame Chief, as a Makatsi. So she's intimidating me by bowing. We used to have not even a headman, a councillor in the traditional council who will decide, no, your stand is here, it's not straight, there's no passage of roads and such things. But in Limpopo, we started an initiative to work with all traditional leaders and to make sure that they bring in land surveyors to demarcate the sites, including your business sites, manage the floodline issues and so forth. And in that arrangement, because there is a cost to the land surveying work, we agreed that even if it's a rural area, there will be sites that are given to the municipalities, because they're the one carrying the cost, to sell so that they can recover the cost of their expenditure in land surveying and so forth. And then sites that will be then remain with the traditional leadership to sell or to give to their communities as children are born and so forth and so forth. Or new people, when you are new, they don't give it for free, you buy. When you are born there, you are given for free. That's how the traditional leadership arrangement works. And part of the work that we're doing through the local government reforms is to ensure the standardization of such arrangements. Because you would find that those beautiful houses, and I'm not mentioning a province because I don't want to be accused, those beautiful houses are built in a place where there's no road planned, there's no school planned. You can't drive straight on a road. There are no junctions. There are no what you call them. In my language, we call them zimonemone. When the street is too long, you create a path in between sides, and then where you can walk, when the pedestrians can walk through instead of following a long drive to where a junction is. So that work will make sure that we address that. But in terms of engineers building the house, whether engineers are involved in building the houses, it is the individual homeowner who has a responsibility to make sure that when you build that double story, that mansion, or that triple story, you involve an engineer. And as such, that's why in my earlier response, we have called for homeowners to make sure that their houses are registered with the NHBRC. Even today, for those houses that have been built already, you can still register those houses with the NHBRC so that the NHBRC can come and do the quality assurance on the structure and its sustainability. And we are hoping, because the intervention on local government reforms includes the Department of Human Settlements, the NHBRC will feedback on the spatial planning arrangement to say, when we went to a village called Ashkunda Marema, and I can say that because that's my home. When we went to a village called Ashkunda Marema, how beautiful houses were built, but they were built in an area where there must be a road provided and a servitude provided, and that house must be demolished as part of making sure that our rural towns, though our rural areas, though they are rural, they've got basic infrastructure of roads that can be paved, that can have sewer if we are using waterborne sewers, and to avoid the contamination of underground water. There's electricity provision lines. There's also, in instances of road accidents, there's a reserve where the emergency responders can deal with those. And also now in the age of digital technology, where the fiber lines can also move. So that responsibility of engineers and also registering the homes lies with the national, with the homeowners are registered. And that will form part of the reform work that we are doing to ensure that there are enough inspectors to make sure that are registered, or the NHBRC builds capacity in various provinces and locally to make sure that their inspectors can go and make sure that those homes are registered. So that is part of the work in progress. In case the individual homeowners do not comply, government will have to force the compliance. Thank you very much. I want to wish you a good weekend. The weather predictions are still severe. As South Africans, we call upon you to take care of yourself. If you know that your home is in a low-lying area and in a flooding area, we request that you go to your local municipality to seek a refuge. Not that they'll give you refuge, that they make provision for refuge or move in with family to make sure that we do not lose lives. We can lose infrastructure, we'll replace, but any loss of life we cannot replace. Thank you very much for your indulgence, and you must thank me for indulging you.
Vumakhaz. Thank you very much, Minister. Colleagues, that brings the briefing to an end, and have a great one. Thank you.